Joins us now. He said that this Cleveland quarterbacks competition is going to be all-encompassing evaluation, and obviously they have Kenny Pickett there. They have Joe Flacco as well. What are you hearing about the two rookies, though, at first glance?
Yeah, so they're going to keep four quarterbacks, Hannah, throughout the offseason leading into training camp. So Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders will have plenty of opportunities to make their impression and to try to make the team. That's really their first goal. They have to do that because the Browns are probably going to keep at a max 3 quarterbacks. Somebody's going to be the odd man out. So Sanders has been as advertised as far as what the Browns liked in the pre-draft process, accuracy, decision-making. They want to see him build on that. But the tricky part for him is they're really high on Gabriel. They essentially overdrafted him in the 3rd round just to ensure that they got him. I was told the Browns are really surprised that the media never picked up pre-draft very much on how high they were in Gabriel with their private workouts with him, with bringing him in for a top 30 visit. So he's still in a pretty good position right here, and we'll see. Now, I'm talking to people around the league. They wouldn't be surprised if the Browns try to swing a trade eventually with one of these 4 quarterbacks because they look at that position as currency, as value. So if somebody plays well in the preseason, maybe they'll be in a new uniform. Yeah,
it's going to be really fascinating to see. You know what they say when you have multiple quarterbacks, that you have none. I know, but they do. They have a ton. All right, let's talk about another rookie quarterback who we got our first eyes on, and that would be that number 1 overall pick, Cam Ward, and the Titans. What are you hearing so far about Ward?
Well, Hannah, what's funny is he knows the playbook really well because he figured he was going to Tennessee. I was told he did a bang-up job in the pre-draft interviews and process with Tennessee going through the offensive install. It was a cut above all the other quarterbacks that they met with. So because of that, he comes in a good position. Really, the Titans want to see him just build chemistry and get to know his new receivers. He has a tight end and 2 wide receivers that were picked in the 4th round that he's working with this weekend. So they're trying to build something there. And you got the Giants. Jackson Dart, I'm heard he threw the ball well yesterday. It's only 1 day of rookie minicamp, but Brian Daboll is really excited about this guy. More excited about him than really any other quarterback since Josh Allen that he's worked with. And so really it's a matter of when he plays. The Giants do feel like they have an infrastructure in place with a good defense with Russell Wilson to win games and help him just develop behind the scenes. But we know if they do lose some games, there's going to be pressure to play him. Then you got the Jaguars' first look at Travis Hunter. So I was told day 1 of rookie minicamp, he was mostly offense, was not doing a lot of defensive stuff. That could change this weekend where they implement him on both sides of the field. The plan really is for him to major.
Holiday weekend, big time for everybody to recharge their batteries in the NFL world, coming off yet another week of huge headlines, big stories across the league with massive ramifications that we will dive into today with the co-host of the Pat McAfee Show, Ty Schmidt, and the man who always leads us in the weekly six-pack.
Thank you very much, Shefty. Good to be back with you as always. I'll tell you what, anytime, you think we're going to get like a little bit of a breather and there's not going to be much to talk about, it's just we get hammered with more new news, a bunch of stuff coming out. But again, we always say it, that's why the NFL is the behemoth that it is, and I don't think we'd have it any other way. With that in mind, let's get right into the six-pack. Biggest kind of news of the week here. The owners' meetings, the league meetings in Minnesota, and everyone's talking about the tush push. Obviously, today it did not pass, but from what you know, Shefty, kind of just walk me through that whole situation and it ultimately not being passed.
Well, first of all, Tal, let's give it some basic information. 22-10 vote against the tush push. The league needed 24 votes to ban the tush push. It got 22. So the league was 2 votes short of getting the tush push banned for the upcoming season. Now, here are the teams that sided with the Philadelphia Eagles and voted against the ban. And ordinarily, I don't like to get into the teams who voted where, but for some reason, I think there's tremendous interest in who voted where, whether they sided with the Eagles or whether they were against the Eagles. So aside from the Eagles voting against the ban, the other 9 teams that sided with Philadelphia were the Baltimore Ravens, the Cleveland Browns, the Detroit Lions, the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Miami Dolphins, the New England Patriots, the New Orleans Saints, the New York Jets, and the Tennessee Titans. Interesting in that there were 2 teams in the AFC East, but not the Buffalo Bills, that sided with the Eagles, and the Bills can run a version of that play. Now let's take you inside that room a little bit. reached out to a couple of people to get why the Eagles were able to capture enough votes to prevent this play from being banned. And the way it was told to me was from one Eagles official that they think that what's happening on this play is misunderstood. And in that room with Jeffrey Lurie, with Jason Kelce, they were able to clarify how the play is coached and how it's taught. They made a compelling case on safety and taking away the downfield push that turned people off. From an offensive perspective, and this is how it was explained to me from my notes, it's not a linear player crashing headfirst into an opponent. The objective is to play with leverage, get below your opponent, and then rise up to create the wave that the ball carrier can ride. And that's what the Eagles do. And so the league, I think, the people that voted against this play, that wanted it banned, they believe they're taking a proactive stance towards health and safety. But there just weren't enough teams to get it done. And so the tush push lives another day. Jason Kelce was supposed to be at the Emmys in New York on Tuesday night, was scheduled to be there, was nominated for Outstanding Personality. And when I was in the audience there on Tuesday night, and I noticed Jason Kelce wasn't there when he was nominated, I said, he was in Minneapolis. The Eagles were hiding him out. They flew him in. They brought him in on Wednesday morning with the Eagles owner, Jeffrey Lurie. They had him talk about exactly what we're talking about here: leverage at the line of scrimmage, crashing headfirst into your opponent and playing with leverage and rising up to create that wave. That is what Jason Kelce has mastered. That is what Cam Jurgens, the current Eagles center, has done. And they were able to convince enough teams, 9 others, to not vote for the ban of the tush push. And the tush push now lives the 2025 season.
So what does this mean moving forward, Shefty? Because I think going into the league meetings, I think everyone assumed, or at least the kind of what I was hearing and what I think the media was as a whole was kind of reporting was, hey, they're going to have the votes. Anytime this happens where they table it and then kind of say, hey, we're going to revisit this, it's because the league wants them to kind of get behind it, get more votes. Does this mean it's kind of just it's dead in the water now, or will this be revisited again maybe next year or the year after?
I think it's always possible to be brought up again next season. How about this? I would say this, that, look, we know it's going to be there in 2025. We'll see how the season plays out. We'll see whether there are any concerns, issues like a Frankie Luvo type play in the NFC Championship game where he's jumping over the line of scrimmage. The play is delayed. We find out that there's a rule that referees can award a touchdown to a team if they deem fit. That was wild. Did you know any of that? I didn't know any of that. And I've covered the NFL for 35 years. So I think that right now, the tush push is safe right now. Does that mean it can't come up again next year? No. But for now, it lives for at least another season.
Okay. And, I'm just glad there's a resolution, because one way or another, to be honest, I was kind of getting sick of talking about it as much as we were. It's like, I understand that it's a big part of what the Eagles do, but anyone can do it. Anyone could be successful at it. And it kind of just felt like, sour grapes for a lot of teams because they weren't as successful with it as the Eagles were. So that'll be something to keep an eye on, as we move forward, I guess. Let's move on to topic number 2, Shefty. A lot of waves being made today. We got the official announcement of both the in-season Hard Knocks teams, which is going to be the NFC East this year, which I love. I think there's a lot of inherent drama in that. And then we're also going to be going to training camp with the Buffalo Bills. What do you think about all of the selections of the Hard Knocks teams?
Well, let me start this way. That I always feel like when we get a announcement of Hard Knocks, that the season's getting close, that the summer is upon us, training camp is nearing, and now we're going to get a chance to dive in. And I love the idea of seeing what the Buffalo Bills are about and whether or not they can make this their season. When we talk about fan bases that deserve an NFL championship, we could talk about Buffalo, Cleveland, Detroit, New York with the Jets. There are a handful of cities that I think it would be unbelievable to see those fan bases be able to watch their teams win a Super Bowl. So now Buffalo is just about as good as any team in the league. We'll get an up-close look at them this summer. It's 5 weeks. It starts August 5th on HBO Max. And, the Bills are a great story. We were there 2 weeks ago for that event for the creation of Bills Mafia with Stevie Johnson. Loved being there, loved being around those fans. And this is just going to be more exposure to some of these guys. I'll give you a prediction on some storylines already. James Cook contract holdout. That's going to be up there. Who emerges at wide receiver? I'm maybe DeMar Hamlin will be in there a little bit up close with DeMar Hamlin, right? Josh Allen's always going to be interesting. We'll probably hear a little bit more about him and his wedding to Haley Steinfeld, right? That'll be a part of this as well. And then in season, the NFC East. I mean, I'm sorry, but I cannot believe the New York Giants are participating in another segment of Hard Knocks. They didn't have enough the first time
neither.
last offseason that they're back for